Yeah, that's right. I'm wearing a Syvduck hoodie. You clicked on this video during Halloween, so what did you expect? Welcome in, you guys. One Piece SBS 113 has just released. And honestly, I'm kind of shocked it's out. I knew the volume was going to come out in November, but it's still October, so we got this a little bit earlier than usual. So here we are. We're going to read through them together. I've read, I think, half of them so far. So this is going to be kind of like a blind read, kind of like a four-sided one. But yes, on to the first one. Oda confirms a theory that everybody was talking about just a year ago. First question. Odachi Heso. Are Franky and Queen father and son? And just in case you are not in the know, the reason this question is being asked is because when Oda revealed Queen's Vivi card, it was stated that Queen had a kid. A kid, I think like 36 years ago. I could be getting that timeline completely scuffed. But essentially, Queen had a kid the exact same year Franky was born. And then, of course, we do know that Franky's parents were pirates. And, of course, Franky, became the cyborg thing. He never met Queen at Wano. They have a lot of parallels while Franky's doing the dance. You invert the numbers, Queen's doing the dance. There's a lot of little things like that. So fans were speculating that Queen and Franky might just be related. Oda, his response says, oh no, they've noticed. They must have seen it in the One Piece encyclopedia, Vivi card, that the year Queen's child was born matches the year Franky was born, and the year Queen abandoned his child also matches with the year Franky was taken in by Tom. Readers knowing something the characters themselves don't know would be weird. I'll have to bluff my way out of this one. No, they're not. Oda stuttered in his answer. Yes, that is right. Oda pretty much confirmed it here without actually saying it. But Franky and Queen are father and son. Will this actually matter in the story, though? I think that's the bigger question. Because it's been so long. If Franky did see Queen, would he recognize him? And then same vice versa, right? Franky isn't exactly that little whelp Queen left in the middle of nowhere. No. Franky's like a full-blown cyborg now. So I am curious, maybe they will have like a small connection later down the line, because we do know that Neomads will be important. I'd be shocked if they weren't. And with Neomads being important, maybe they recruit Queen into their forces to get the boys back together. As far as Queen's whereabouts right now, last we saw, he was beaten by Aramaki. So I'd like to assume Queen is at Impel Down, and we are expecting a giant Impel Down breakout later down the line anyways. So yeah, I do think Queen will be very relevant in the coming story. The fact that this theory ended up being correct, and the fact that it was also spawned from a Vivi card is so fascinating, because we have seen instances where Vivi cards are willy-nilly, right? The whole thing where, oh, Yasue didn't eat a Smile Devil Fruit, and then boom, he eats a Smile Devil Fruit. And then most recently, Big Mom here at God Valley said, hey, I want to give this Dragon Devil Fruit to my son Katakuri. But in the Vivi cards, by this point in the story, he already has the Mochi Mochi no Mi, according to the Vivi cards. So it's really wacky. Like, sometimes Vivi cards can be retconned. Sometimes they're very meaningful, like this one here today with Queen. On to the second SBS question. Oh, here we go. I have not seen this one. Reader, I love to see what Vivi looks like at the ages of 40 and 60. I've sprayed some Sanadachi repellent, so you can rest easy this summer. If you guys don't know who that is, that's a guy who constantly asks Oda very lewd questions. Oda says, yay, no more Sanada. As thanks, I'll draw it. And Vivi, at 40 years, says, let's go, Karu, towards the East Blue. And then at age 60, she says, my, you're quite good. Okay, so that's the good timeline. And then our bad timeline Vivi says, I'll make you dizzy, ya bastard. Whoa. Oh, she turned into a pirate. Oh, okay. And then at age 60, she turns into a celestial dragon. Oh yeah, Luffy, huh? There used to be a guy like that. She looks like Dr. Kureha. That's kind of interesting. Bad timeline Vivi becomes a pirate. I wonder if this is soft confirmation that she won't join the Straw Hats? Maybe, but that's just my agenda. Vivi for Nakama? No! Give me Yamato instead, brother. But Vivi is a good looker. Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is the first Nakama Straw Hat member that's actually gotten one of these. That's so fun. I mean, I guess you could say the opposite, right? This confirms that Vivi will be like a onboard member. I don't know. That's awesome, though. I do like those, like, what-if timelines. Like, oh, this is if she ages poorly, this is her good timeline. I love that. Next one. Oh, here we go. This is my first submission. You know those cover story series that you do? My dad said that once a character appears in them, they'll never appear in the story again. Is that true?
Beep, beep, beep.
We've had a lot of characters that have appeared in cover page stories, but also later reappeared in the canon series. What is the dad talking about? Come on, dad, lock in, man. I mean, yeah, even Oda says, that's not true at all. The cover stories I've done so far include Buggy, who has shown up, Kobe, who has shown up, Django, who has shown up, Hachi, who has shown up, Wapple, who has shown up, Ace, who has also shown up, Gidatsu, yeah, we haven't seen him since. Baroque Works, we've seen them again. Enel, we haven't seen. CP9, we've seen. Caribou, we've seen. Jimbei, we've seen. Straw Hat Grand Fleet, we've seen. Beige, we've seen. Also, real quick, I just want to correct myself, but Beige didn't make a reappearance in the story since his cover page story. When I said that he's reappeared, it's because I remember we saw him during the post-time skip training arc, and we actually saw him and his crew get abducted by aliens, I think, or at least fly into the sky. So I was like, oh yeah, he got reintroduced, but post Whole Cake Island, no, we have not seen Beige yet, but I also think we will see him because guess what? His crew is relevant. Loki was in love with Lola, and guess who just joined Beige's crew? Lola, of course. Jeremy and Yamato, that was very recent, so we don't know yet, but we'll probably see them later. Like, brother, we have seen more cover page protagonists than not. What is the dad talking about? If there was just like 1 or 2 characters that did make a reappearance, I'm like, okay, yeah, like 2 out of 15, sure, yeah, that's a valid question. But brother, like 90% of these guys have reappeared. Even Road reappeared. That's crazy. I don't want to slander the dad too much, but I'm like, yo, dad, what are you reading, man? Oda says, I've done this many times already. Most of these characters have returned into the main story. Basically, the cover story series are to show readers what these characters are up to. There's also a book called Doors, which contains all of these and is very easy to read, huh? I haven't heard of that before. Mio-chan, are you perhaps curious if Yamato will appear again? Please look forward to it laughs, bro. Otis trolling. You guys are already ready for more Yamato, aren't ya? You guys thought you were done with the cover page story? No! Dude, man. Yamato for Nakama. Oda, you just had to throw that in, huh? Back during Wano, I really wanted her to join the crew, but obviously that didn't happen. Maybe it's gonna be like a Jimbei situation where after Elbaf, Yamato shows up, or maybe near the end of Elbaf, Yamato shows up and, you know, flexes the Conqueror's hockey against the God Knights. Hey, one can only dream, brother. One can only dream. Also, I'm curious, if you guys had to put your bets down, who do you think would make a reappearance in the story first? Yamato or Enel? Because Oda did list Enel in this list, as well as Gidatsu, because they were protagonists of their own cover page stories, and eventually I do believe they will be brought back in. But it's just a matter of how. Enel seems so disjointed from the story because he traveled to the moon, because he knows about the moon murals. How do you reintroduce that back into the plot? Maybe during the Void Century flashback? Or maybe Enel is the one attacking the Holy Land? I'm not too sure. But hey, I'm all in for more Enel in the canon story. Next question. For those who've been wondering, isn't it about time we put an end to the mystery of the person seen from behind on the cover of chapter 631? I'll just say it. Is it Golden Lion Shiki, or perhaps the left hand of the Pirate King, Skoppergaban? Yeah, this was a big one. I remember a while back when we were wondering who the guy in Elbaf was, this was a pretty contentious question. I think it's pretty obvious it's Skopper now, and Oda says, you've got good memory. This is Gaban. He can't just shake off his habit of traveling. He's been wandering around quite a bit. He is a navigator after all. I like that. What's interesting is that, from what I recall, Rayleigh didn't know about Crocus's whereabouts or how Crocus is doing. But Skopper is actively traveling. I wonder if we'll meet other Roger Pirates along the way. I think that'd be a really interesting cover page story next, where it's like, oh, like, here's all the Roger Pirates, you know, now that they've retired, and here's Skopper or Rayleigh or just somebody from the crew going around saying hello. I think that'd be kind of sweet. But then again, do we care about most of the Roger Pirates outside of like the main 4 or 5? I don't know. You know, I don't know. Next question. The Akazaya 9 red scabbards have each become daimyo of their respective regions. But how are they chosen? Don't tell me it was all Kinnemon's decisions. As expected of Kinsan. That's what it feels like, right? It's all just... Nepotism is the wrong way to put it. But he really just hired his friends as the most prominent roles. But then again, they did fight for Wano, so I can't even say anything about that. Oda says, yes. With the despised Kaido and Orochi gone, and with Oda no longer among them, his son Momonosuke has declared his rule over the nation of Wano country. Ben. Oh, that's the guy's name, Beben. Although Momonosuke's mind is still that of an 8-year-old, of course, it is up to the scabbards to support him, yeah. I mean, to be fair, who else would you put up there, right? I mean, I don't know if I'd hold an election, just to give it to the scabbards. They know what Odin's been up to. They know how he wanted the country ruled. Also, Sukiyaki is here, too. We can't forget Sukiyaki. He ruled all of Wano beforehand. I'm sure he had a part to play. Oda says, here's how Wano looks now compared to before. Okobore Town, the prisoner mines and factories, Onigashima, all of that is gone. As revealed in the cover page story, after much discussion among themselves, the scabbards decided to spread out across the land as regional daimyos. The flower capital is overseen by Kinnemon as the senior elder, and Nekomamushi as the underworld's boss. Oh! Nekomamushi rules the Yakuza? Yeah, they're supporting Momonosuke. Yamato, meanwhile, is currently learning about the world. And then he breaks it down here. Kibi is ruled by Denjiro, Kuri is ruled by Inarashi, Udon ruled by Raizo, Hakumai, Kawamatsu, and Ringo Kikunojo, which we learned in the cover pages. I guess the biggest thing here is that we now know is that Onigashima was seemingly deleted by the scabbards, which I thought was kind of interesting. When we first started the Yamato journey, we saw Onigashima sinking into the water. I wondered who did that. Like, was it the scabbards? Which, you know, if it was them, like, cool, I get it, right? That's a big sign of oppression. But at the same time, it's like, wait a minute. That's free real estate, man. Why push it into the water? Especially if one day you're going to break the borders. You're just going to see Onigashima later. But, yeah, I don't know. Huh. Who made the decision to put Onigashima, like, off the coast? I have no clue. Oda-sensei, good day. I'm Masahito, and I'm 6 years old. I've been thinking about a new devil fruit. I call it the Crunch Crunch fruit. Shaki Shaki no Mi. It can make the user's attack sharp. That's kind of cute. Yeah, a 6-year-old riding into One Piece. Are they caught up? No, dude, no. A 6-year-old is not caught up to One Piece. I mean, maybe. Really? 6 years old? I started One Piece when I was 8. And, you know, obviously, like, I wasn't even caught up all the way yet. 6 years old, talented, brother. No, maybe they just started. They just started reading One Piece. They saw one SBS and they said, I'm gonna send in my question. Maybe the parents read it. Maybe that's it. Hey, son, me and your mom read One Piece. You want to send in an SBS? I bet Oda will read it. Or maybe they're faking their age. Yeah, they're faking their age so Oda will take pity on them and read their SBS question. So what they talk about again? The Crunch Crunch no Mi that makes things sharp. It's like a less cool version of Mr. One's Devil Fruit where everything becomes like blades. Oda says, hello, 6-year-old Masahito-kun. That's really cool. The Shaki Shaki no Mi, huh? Maybe I'll use it because that's so cute. Did you guys see this PTA? Here's another cute postcard. Huh. Interesting. Okay, so Oda might use the Crunch Crunch fruit? On who? Who's gonna get that? Imagine it's a God Knight. No, Oda. Well, if a God Knight has it, maybe it'll be really awesome. Like they're just gonna awaken it or something. I will admit that would be really sick if he turns this into a canon fruit, like an important canon fruit. Like a God Knight gets it. Maybe somebody from the Straw Hat Grand Fleet gets it. The logical side of me is telling me that just a background character is gonna have this, kind of like one of the Whitebeard commanders or something. But I like this though. I think this is adorable. Now, somebody else says, is Jimbei's colored blue? And Oda says, okay, 5-year-old Amimi-chan. A 5-year-old asked if Jimbei's is blue? Oda says, what the heck are you asking about? Yes, his is blue. Okay, classic Oda's got that dog in him. Next question, does Zunisha poop? Guys, what are we doing here, man? Oda says gross. That's the question? Disgusting. Naturally, Zunisha poops. Naturally, some adventurer makes land there. This whole island feels like a swamp, and then eventually the island sinks and becomes nutrients for the sea. Like hell it does. But of course, Zunisha does poop naturally. Yeah, this reminds me of the giant goldfish story that Usopp told Kaya. Like, oh, there's a giant goldfish, and when it poops, it becomes an island. It's like a spin-off of that, except this time it's elephant turds. Okay, awesome. Next one. Oh, Celestial Dragons. I saw this one. Yes. The Celestial Dragons. Saint Roswald, Saint Charlos, and Saint Shalaria. What family are they from? Oda says they're from the Roswald family. Saint Roswald's parents must be a bunch of idiots. Roswald's full name is Roswald Roswald. I was smiling, guys, from ear to ear when I read this, because I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was listing off all the Celestial Dragon family names, and I put the Roswald family there. And you guys corrected me. You were like, oh, Sai, like Roswald's not their last name, that's their first name. And I was like, oh yeah, you guys are so right, you guys are cooking. And then here we have it. No, their full name is Roswald Roswald. So I was right with the wrong assumption. That is hilarious. So there we have it. Another one of the 20 OG families has just been fulfilled. I believe there's only 6 or 7 missing ones left. So yes, that is huge. It might seem like a meme, but this is big. Next one. Oda, I was wondering, since York wants to become a Celestial Dragon, does that mean Vegapunk himself, before he split into satellites, also had at least a little desire to become one? Oh, that's a good question. So my headcanon, before I read the answer, I always thought that York was based off of a Celestial Dragon, and then Vegapunk's greed, his inherent greed, kind of amplified that. Oda says, I see. Was this a shock? This is a difficult topic, but in my view, every person has big desires towards various things, and only when we have the reason to control those desires do we truly become human. Okay, he's getting philosophical. If we define reason as righteousness, read as shaka, then things like hatred towards celestial dragons or the moral sense that tells us you must not kill people also comes from reason. But if that's the case, then perhaps everyone has a little celestial dragon inside them too. Okay, Oda, I like that. I like that. That is very true. You know, in real life, everybody has a different capacity for what is good and bad. Everybody has different morals, and of course, sometimes righteousness or reason stops us from doing absurd things. Oda says, that is my extreme theory. Please take it lightly, LOL. My answer is, it's possible that within humans exists the desire to become a celestial dragon. Okay, I like that. I think this is going to be a big hint for when it comes to the Void Century. I think that, of course, people wanted power, so yes, they became celestial dragons. I believe the Harley text kind of talks about that same thing. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, okay, so it's in the second world. They say, within the void there was breath, the forest god tamed demons, and the sun spread the fires of war. Those of the half moon dreamed, those of the moon dreamed, and then man killed the sun and became God. They will never meet again. I think that right there, the line prior, that is in reference to people becoming celestial dragons, the desire to become a god. So yes, I think this will have deeper implications later. Next question. Hello, Oda-san. In the One Piece world, there are 2 calendars. I did not know that. The Age of Sea Circle, Kaien Reki, and the Age of Heaven, Tenreki. What time periods do each of these refer to, and what year is it currently? Whoa, wait, what? Where'd they get this from? I have not heard of these. Oda says, I see. Casual readers have probably forgotten those even exist. It's like an arrow. You're curious, huh? You're thinking one of them must be the older calendar, right? The answer is, right now, it's the year 4141 of the Age of Heaven and the year 1541 of the Age of the Sea. Huh. Both are still in use. By the way, on Skypiea, everything happened roughly 400 years ago. But I just rounded it nicely to 400 years. You can forget about this information. Okay. Again, I think this is going to be very important, which it's kind of funny. Correct me if I'm wrong, but are we under the assumption that the first world happened 3,000 years ago? Was that it? Because if so, I mean, I believe this matches up, right? 41-41, 15-41, and it's like, boom, there you go. Huh. I think out of all of the SBS questions so far, this might be the biggest in terms of lore implications. Okay, we might have to revisit this later. Next up. Oh, this is a big one. What the heck? Odachi, these days, ebooks have become mainstream, and there are more web manga than ever. But I feel One Piece often uses wide panels that stretch across both pages, even outside of big splash scenes. Do you consciously design it to be read in print form? Oda says, right. Both Jump and the One Piece volumes have digital versions now. Of course, everyone's free to read however they like, but the layout I have in mind is always 2 pages as one spread. In other words, the Jump magazine comics or digital versions read on something horizontal like a PC or iPad. For example, when I do a gag that spans both pages, I sometimes draw the left page's panels a bit smaller so that when you flip the page, the joke on the right appears bigger and hits harder. That's one of the visual effects I use in my storytelling, so for people reading on a vertically oriented smartphone screen, I can only say sorry about that. Fair. Okay, that's kind of cool. I have seen a lot of mangas get skewed and just destroyed because of like physical releases. You flip the page or you get like double spread, and then a character whose face spans the entire page just gets cut in half and it looks really wonky. I think the most iconic example would be Sasuke. There's Sasuke where like he's like killing a certain character and they cut his face right down the middle, looks super goofy. Next one. Reader, it's cute that Kuma used the drawing of Bonney as his flag. Can you tell me what his ship is named? Oh, cool. Oda says Kuma's ship is called Leap Out Jewelry. Okay. I'm assuming that's because he wants his daughter to jump out and go onto the open sea. The next one says, Luffy's eye pupils are quite small, aren't they? What if he wore colored contacts? What would he look like? Oda said like this. A normal drawing of Luffy on the left, I'll become king of the pirates. A drawing of Luffy with colored contacts on the right, I'll become king of the pirated copies. What the hell? Bootlegs. Okay, that's very cursed. On to the next one. I got so excited when Luffy's new Gear 5 techniques, Gumu Gumu no Dawn Whip and Dawn Rocket, appeared. But when I see the word white, which is Dawn, I naturally expect punch. Wait, what? White punch? That would be even more exciting. So why is it always read as Dawn? Oh, okay. So it's like, why is it Dawn instead of white? Oda says, hold on a second. Ramen Maru-kun, the guy who sent the previous question. Even if you repelled one weirdo, did you just summon another one? What do you mean, when it's white, it has to be a punch? PTA members, please! It's not what it sounds like. This isn't that kind of manga. Note, white punch is a liquor mixture. Then again, Oda dodges the answer to the question. Yeah, he doesn't want to reveal the Dawn yet, right? I think that's a big thing. Sun God Nika just using Dawn-based abilities, of course. The first chapter of One Piece, the first volume, is Romance Dawn. There's definitely something bigger there. Oda avoiding it as per usual, man. Give us the answers. Is this the last one? Oh, it is. Reader, Bonney is only 12 years old, yet she keeps the appearance of someone in her 20s. Will she stay as a 12-year-old from here on out? Oda says, out at sea, no one would take a child captain seriously, and looking older was also convenient for her journey to find her father. But now that she's on board the Sunny, which is now an Elbaf, she seems to feel safe around them to remain as a child. Please keep an eye on her from here on out. Okay. Yeah, please keep an eye out on her. Of course, Elbaf is still going on. I feel like she could play a really big role when it comes to Dome Reversi, maybe Sun God Nika. And I guess this also goes back to the Yamato and Vivi SBS questions, but hey, if we had to pick a Nakama, right? Somebody who joins the ship. And I say that because people are like, oh, Vivi's a Nakama, but you know what I mean, right? Hopping aboard the Sunny, who would it be? If you had to pick one out of the three, who would you choose? Personally, I'd lean towards Yamato, even though that's like a lot of cope. But Bonney would be like my second pick. Kind of like how Roger had Shanks and Buggy as kids on the ship. I don't think it'd be bad if the Shrouds had one too. And of course, Sun God Nika, that's your hero. Why not follow Superman, right? If you had the chance, follow Superman, man. But yes, I believe that is the, last one. So we're going to go ahead and call it here. I like the SBS. Of course, Oda dodged a lot of questions, but I still think it's pretty fun. The random, I swear, dude, the random edgy jokes like, oh, what about Jimbei's pee-pee? What about Zunisha pooping? Always cracks me up. I always forget sometimes, right? You'd think that I just expect those by now, but they always catch me freaking off guard, man. Let me know what you thought about this SBS down below. How do you feel about Franky and Queen? How do you feel about the crunch, me being canon? Like I said, I don't mind it. I just hope it's stronger than it sounds. Like, just making something sharp, that doesn't really do much. Maybe in the East Blue, the crunch no me would be broken. But in the final saga, like, okay, who's gonna have this and be strong with it, brother? Unless they're awakened, unless it's like Gunko's arrow where it has a lot of implications. I don't know, man. I don't know. But yes, let me know what you thought about this down below. Happy Halloween, guys. I might be posting this today, October 31st or November 1st. I'm not too sure yet. But whenever you're watching this video, I really freaking appreciate it. You guys have a great rest of your day. Peace out and stay safe, brothers.